Well, Merry Christmas, everyone, and what a game to see out the decade this afternoon. An instant opportunity for scores to be settled or compounded in the second instalment of this season's 1872 Cup after last Saturday's gruelling encounter at Scotstoun. The oldest derby in rugby holds a special place in the game for so many reasons. These players know each other inside out, and it's a game that matters more to them and their fans than any other, and perfectly placed at the heart of the festive period. This really is a rivalry like no other. The Glasgow Warriors used all their resolve on home soil. Pride restored when they needed it most. A tussle that went this way then that, but it was Dave Rennie's men who eventually prevailed in what really was an intriguing encounter along the M8. They were in the unfamiliar position of being underdogs, and they will feel that they dug deep to prove so many wrong, but they will need to back it up today when they could reclaim the 1872 Cup for the first time in 3 years. You know that led by Callum Gibbons and co-captain Ryan Wilson, that they will have the determination to record a rare win at Murrayfield. They had it all their way for so many years, but Edinburgh have been fighting back hard of late. Well, there's 4 changes for Dave Rennie and the Glasgow Warriors. Only one in the pack, though, as Ollie Kebble replaces Aki Seuli, who is on the bench, and Xander Fagerson, who put in quite a shift last weekend and was named man of the match. He starts again. In the backs, Ali Price's try is rewarded with a start at scrum half, while both wingers are changed up, with DTH Van der Merwe and Ratu Tungive providing the pace and power out wide. Well, Christmas was somewhat less cheerful for Edinburgh after that bruising defeat in the West. This afternoon is all about their response as they seek swift revenge. Small margins indeed cost them dearly in a monumentally physical clash. You better believe they are ready to come out all guns blazing in front of a vast crowd at the National Stadium. Richard Cockrell makes 3 changes from last week's starting 15. WP Nell is back for his first Pro 14 appearance of the season to boost the Edinburgh scrum. Jamie Richie is preferred to Magnus Bradbury on the blind side. The only alteration in the back sees Nick Groom start ahead of Henry Pyrgos at scrum half, while Mark Bennett signed a new contract with the club this week to secure his long-term future. In charge is Mike Adamson, former Glasgow Warriors number 10, and he'll be assisted by Keith Allen and David Sutherland. The TMO is Neil Patterson. Now, there was some sad news in Scottish rugby over the Christmas period with the passing of former SRU president Fred McLeod, and there will be a minute's applause to honour him.
A long illness on Christmas Day at 80 years old. Fred gave more than 60 years of distinguished service to the sport he loved, from the grassroots to the global game's ultimate governing body. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please be upstanding if you're able and show your respect as we take in a moment's applause in honour of Fred McLeod.
A great servant to Scottish rugby and well remembered in front of a huge crowd at BT Murrayfield. Indeed, a record-breaking crowd at BT Murrayfield. Over 26,000 tickets sold for this hotly anticipated second instalment of this season's 1872 Cup. Vital Guinness Pro 14 points up for grabs in a clash of epic rivalry. You can be absolutely certain that no quarter will be asked or given between these two. And it's Adam Hastings who kicks off, the man born and bred in this city. And straight away into the arms of George Taylor, the centre, who starts again in the heart of the midfield for Edinburgh.
No hands!
And instantly last week it was a penalty that came the way of the Warriors, and they were able to get on the board. Edinburgh will want to execute their exit strategy better, and it's the man who's come in for Henry Pyrgos, Nick Groom, who puts up the first box kick of the afternoon.
Yeah, and a good kick-off by Adam Hastings deep into Edinburgh's 22, and it's an area that Edinburgh will be so focused on this afternoon, concentrating in and around that ruck ball, securing it at the base. They were too often exposed last week at Scotstoun. Physicality, a big part when you're up against the mongrel of the likes of Rob Harley, Fraser Brown, Xander Fagerson on the ground. They've got to get it right today, Edinburgh.
Well, and up goes Grant Gilchrist with the first spoil at the line-out. Look at Edinburgh showing their intentions early to go wide, with Duhan van der Merwe hauled down by a combination of Ratu Tungive and Hugh Jones. Intent from deep shown from Edinburgh. Grant Gilchrist, really the master of the line-out. He managed one steal last week, 7 claims from their own throw, and already a steal in this game. Now it's Hamish Watson. It's a dynamic back row that Edinburgh have picked. They've got so many options in that area, but Watson, Mata and Richie should go well this afternoon. Schumann with his first contact of the game. Now Simon Hickey, who avoided the contact with Ryan Wilson, who flew up into the fly half's face. Now here goes Kinghorn, who finished that try so expertly and put Edinburgh in front with not long left at Scotstoun, but they couldn't hold on. George Turner's winning try, and again the hooker is on the bench as Gilchrist has another carry. Schumann can't make any ground, but he takes 2 Glasgow defenders out of the play. Forward comes Rudy Jackson, and a good claim from the full-back.
It's a good take by Rudy Jackson there. An ugly looking kick. Edinburgh didn't have many options, did they? Glasgow defence holding up well again.
Strange kick choice by Nick Groom there. Adam Hastings has boomed that one into deep territory, but Duhan van der Merwe so dangerous with ball in hand.
Well, it's going to take 3 Glasgow players to get him down, but it's been ripped as well. Sam Johnson doing a fine job there. Well, the ball very loose, and it's in the arms of Jamie Richie now. And Edinburgh are up to halfway. Well, at times it was stuffy, really, for the first hour at Scotstoun. This is a very open affair in the first 3 and a bit minutes. This time it's Mark Bennett, new contract for him, the former Glasgow Warrior. Gilchrist again.
Stay.
There's a counter ruck from Xander Fagerson that was so effective last week. Was taking Nick Groom out there and got away with it.
What a game Fagerson had last week. He was absolutely everywhere. The first big carry from Bill Mata, who maybe didn't have the impact he would have hoped last week. Ali Price back to Adam Hastings, who again has spotted space. Bounce of the ball helped the way of Mark Bennett.
Some tired bodies already out there. Edinburgh slow back to help Mark Bennett out there. There he's been exposed at the breakdown. And the penalty comes from referee Mike Adamson going against WP&L. Again, the counter-ruck that we spoke about coming into this game. It was harum-scarum, scrappy stuff there, Jim, but ultimately Glasgow will be the happier. Good defence from that Edinburgh attack.
Yeah, as we see the counter-ruck coming in there, Mark Bennett bounces the ball, just does him slightly, and we can just see what it means. It all comes off the back. This pressure from both teams, really, off the back of another lost line-out by Glasgow. They lost 4 of the 11 line-outs last week. First real opportunity for them overthrown, and Edinburgh sustained pressure. But now Glasgow got the opportunity to go 3-0.
Potentially a little bit harsh in and around that breakdown there. I thought WP&L had done well to win the space beyond the ball and stay on his feet, and then it was under the pressure of Ryan Wilson, I think, on his back that he went down to the ground. Mike Adamson suggesting he had sealed it off, but that breakdown is just going to be a scrap again this afternoon.
We said it then, the counter-ruck, you highlighted it from last week, a tactic by Glasgow, and it's a risky one as well. You know, trying to stay on your feet when you're trying to be that physical. Xander Ferguson, we just saw him a couple of breakdowns earlier. And again, Mike Adamson, it comes down to the referee's perception of that, and that time it went in Glasgow's favour.
Well, Adam Hastings was immaculate from the tee last week, 100%. The first strike of this afternoon's game drifts wide of the posts from Adam Hastings.
You could tell straight off the boots that it wasn't a clean strike. The trajectory of it just didn't seem right. He'll be a little bit disappointed. That was one whereby it's a bonus 3 points if you can get it. A kicker of his standard would expect to get it. But Edinburgh breathe again. It really has been harum-scarum start to this game since that first line out.
Here goes Rudy Jackson onto Ryan Wilson. And now Johnny Gray onto Callum Gibbons. And Ollie Kebble, who's come in for Aki Seiruli, reclaiming his place in the #1 jersey for the Warriors. And it's Glasgow possession once more. Hugh Jones is through a gap. It's brilliant play from the centre. Ali Price in support. Jones again. And now helped on by Xander Ferguson. Hastings picks out Johnson. They have numbers wide if they can get it there, but Jackson was well held up in the tackle as Duhan van der Merwe came off his wing. Now Ollie Kebble. Glasgow taking the initiative. Sam Johnson this time presents it, and then goes DTH van der Merwe to play scrum half. Scott Cummings.
Edinburgh have done well to rebuild their defensive shape after that initial Jones break.
Johnny Gray dips low. Makes him almost impossible to stop. Hastings. And he had to elect for the short ball to Jackson. Van der Merwe. He ran right over the top of Darcy Graham, who just picked up a little bit of a knock, but he's made of stern stuff.
Thank you.
Hastings, good hands from Cummings, and out wide again it goes to Hugh Jones, who really looks in the mood. He loves playing on this surface at BT Murrayfield.
Some hard carries from Glasgow, takes them into the 22. They've had to earn the right. 13 phases, some tough carries.
Johnny Gray with the last one, and again goes Sam Johnson, featuring in that dangerous centre partnership with Jones again. Hastings, it's short to Kebble, who tried to fire one out the back, and well, Edinburgh's defence held really firm there.
I was just about to say before we saw the knock on there, the more phases you go through and you don't make much of a break. We saw they got into the 22, as we see Hugh Jones. I mean, he was brilliant last week, and like you said, he wants it today, and everyone wants to see him on form. If you're a Scotland fan, playing with a bit of confidence, that line break would have done him wonders, Rory.
Yeah, he's just so fleet of foot and quick off the mark there on the outside. He gets on the outside of Jamie Richie, and that's not something that many people are able to do. Again, Ali Price on the inside, but Hugh Jones offers the opportunity in that number 13 jersey, and he can really light up the game. And when you think about some of the players that Glasgow have lost, particularly Stuart Hogg in that back line from last season, he is one of the guys that you look to make something from nothing there. Down the 15-metre channel, it didn't look like there was that much on. He looked up, stepped off his right, his acceleration through the break to then look for his inside support, Ali Price there. Edinburgh managed to rebuild. Already in this game, though, we've seen the physicality up. 40 tackles already made in the opening 10 minutes, fairly even. These players obviously know each other so well, Jim. You've played in this 1872 Cup. It's when you're playing up against your Scotland teammates often, but it's a fierce rivalry.
Yeah, there's always that added edge. We spoke about it. You can't take that away. You know, a lot of these lads are friends as well. You know, I remember when we played around this Christmas period. I spoke about it last week. You know, whoever won the first game would enjoy their Christmas dinner. And even if you did win it, you didn't really enjoy it because you knew that in a few days you'd be back at it again. But it's what I love about these derby games. So physical, so much on the line. You know, it's like you're messing around with your brother in the garden. Do you know what I mean? You're always more physical with your own brother.
Particularly unique because Scotland obviously only has 2 teams, so the bulk of Gregor Townsend's Scotland squad are vying for places in the Six Nations that, let's not forget, is only a month away now.
Binding straight onto the shoulder, number 3. Bind straight on the shoulder.
Yeah, we're seeing straight on the shoulders under Ferguson. Yes, Schumann, they had a titanic battle last week. The scrum was a problem last week, it was, and again we mentioned the players knowing themselves inside out, the teams scrummage against each other when they're with Scotland, and sometimes this can cause problems when it comes to scrum time.
There's an interesting call though, to retake the scrum. Often you'd see people, particularly territory based, just look to hoof it downfield, build your defensive wall. Edinburgh opting for a scrum.
It's almost trying to get in Mike Addison's head. Let them know that they've got the ascendancy. WP now, experienced campaigner in that front row.
Set, hold.
Well, this was an area that really frustrated Richard Cockerell and Edinburgh in the last game, and they win the first penalty.
And that's exactly what they were looking for. That's why they've gone back from the free kick to the scrum, because that gives them an easy out now. They'll kick to touch, they'll get a line out on halfway, and they can build their attack on a short arm free kick. They probably have to go for an up and under.
Mossy spoke about this before the game as well. Blair Kinghorn takes on the responsibility. He's got a massive right boot, and he does take the occasional risk in order to get those extra 5-10 yards. He's found a good outcome there.
Yeah, as you see the scrum unfold there, the weight's good. You see Ollie Campbell on that loose head side, but he just goes down to the floor. So the ball's at the base. And it's big, especially Richard Cockerell spoke about it, the scrum from last week. It can be a lottery sometimes, but it puts Edinburgh in a great position off the back of a monster boot by Kinghorn.
Yeah, they felt a bit hard done by with a number of the decisions. Only 10 penalties against Edinburgh last week, but 3 yellow cards. And look at Bill Mata, who was one of them. He was pretty unfortunate, along with Stuart McAnally, to go to the bin last week.
And away 7.
Here's Groom, who was carded late on. Schumann. Groom again for Hickey and Taylor, and there's Richie. Dipped into the tackle with Sam Johnson. Hickey can float it wide. Here's Mark Bennett, who looks for space in behind Ratu Tungive, but it's out on the full from Bennett.
Right idea, just the execution there from Mark Bennett. You can see he's frustrated. There was space in behind for him to just put the ball into, but this, we talk about little edges, small margins. You see, look at this attack here, Groom, and look at the one-on-one that they've tried to create there, Edinburgh. It's a good strike play. Hugh Jones, known obviously for really good attacking play, can often and occasionally make a misread in defence. That time there, chop tackle on Bill Mata, but it's those sort of mismatches that both sides will try and create this afternoon when you know the game is always going to be sitting on a knife edge.
Fraser Brown finds Scott Cummings. And now Ratu Tungive, the Australian-born winger, who's now Scots qualified, in fact. back from injury, missed a couple of games of late. And there's Jackson, clever ball through, looking for DTH Van der Merwe, and from Hamish Watson it's gone straight into the arms of Adam Hastings. Now Gilchrist is in there looking to spoil and wrestle it away. Which side is the ball coming up on? Well, more importantly, it's the arm of Mike Adamson that goes up in Glasgow's favour.
They called tackle release about 4 times, okay? About 4 times.
You can hear him there. He called tackle release 4 times. I heard him from up here.
Tackle was complete.
Generally, when I was on the pitch, I couldn't hear the referee, but I could definitely hear him today. And he said 4 times. He gave Edinburgh the opportunity. As we see the kick go through, it's a really smart kick there by Rory Jackson there. Great chase, DTH Van der Merwe.
Yeah, Hamish Watson just looked to get his hands free as George Taylor was in a position to be able to receive the pass. As it was, it came loose, and from there, Adam Hastings there, look, you see his left knee gets to the ground. Adam Hastings called tackle, release to both Stuart McAnally and Grant Gilchrist. They go to ground. McAnally kept a hold of him. Easy penalty for Mike Adamson to give.
Well, interesting one as this time Glasgow take the kick to the corner, looking to take the impetus to Edinburgh. They feel they've got the upper hand in these exchanges, and Price sends it to Jones, and now the kick over from Jackson looking for Tungivay, and he won't quite get there. Expansive stuff from the Glasgow Warriors, but they couldn't quite find the final pass.
Yeah, I thought Tungivay was going to be slightly wider. I think it's the right option, but by Jackson. I just don't think he expected Tungivay to be that narrow.
Yeah, I don't think the execution of that move quite went to plan, and Rory Jackson played with his head up, saw there was space in behind him. Of course, the dead ball areas here at BT Murrayfield are massive. That time just slightly misjudged the kick. Again, Glasgow go for the same tactic they did last week.
He's got it.
Well, it was well taken initially by Edinburgh and Jamie Richie. This time it's Glasgow who infringe, and it should be an easy get out for Edinburgh from a tricky situation.
Yeah, we saw Glasgow with the tactic same last week where they stand off. Edinburgh obviously smart this week. They would have worked on that knowing that Glasgow might have pulled that trick again. Scott Cummins comes round.
Look, I've been chatting to, look, there's lots of people coming at me. Just put it through Stuart, thanks.
As we hear the ref mic unfold then, so there's a few little permutations around that. So if Glasgow don't engage into that line and Edinburgh don't transfer the ball back, it almost becomes a bit of a stalemate, which means Scott Cummins can't go round. He did go round, and effectively, until the ball's transferred, he can't do that.
Edinburgh did quite well, though, because Cummins, by going round the back, ended up isolated. They got him to ground and got over the ball to create that turnover penalty. But it's an interesting tactic from Glasgow, who understand the threat of this Edinburgh drive.
Taken again by Richie as the option in the line-out, and here comes the maul off the line-out. There's one stoppage for McAnally, and now Groom is there to complete the clearance. And we did just hear from, that goes out on the full from Groom, and they will perhaps be missing, because one of Henry Pyrgos's real attributes is his box kicking.
Yeah, and Nick Groom's a very good kicker, a very intelligent player, obviously a left footer down that left touchline. He'll be disappointed by that. It's always quite tricky at BT Murrayfield to judge the wind on that far side. It often comes over this west stand, grabs the east, and at ground level it feels like it's coming off the touchline. As it is, when the ball's kicked up, it goes towards that touchline. And let's not forget, Edinburgh have only had 3 Pro 14 games here. Nick Groom's still learning a little bit about how the conditions work.
Well, again, it's coughed up onto the Edinburgh side, and look, here goes Duhan van der Merwe. They'll do well to stop him. He's got open prairie in front of him. Now boshes into the tackle of Rory Jackson. Duhan van der Merwe. Well, he really is a showstopper. He's got Edinburgh on the front foot, but the pass is not going to hand with the back row out in the wider channels. Watson and Richie were in there. It's now McAnally, who loves to carry in the loose. Groom now to Bennett and Mata. He's found a gap too. Oh, it's a magical pass from Bill Mata. And Darcy Graham is not going to miss from there as does Edinburgh come to life and get the opening score, and it was something very, very special indeed.
What a fantastic try. All comes off the back of another lost line out from Glasgow, as we see here, through the fingertips of Johnny Gray. And then off the back of that, it's all about this man, Van der Merwe. Look at him in open space. Look at him move.
He is an absolute wrecking ball. His stats are ridiculous, and sometimes stats don't tell you the full truth. But my goodness, look at this. They got front foot ball. Bill Mata holding the ball like an orange pip. Unleashes Darcy Graham. Dummies inside, finishes it off. But look at this. Out the back door from Mata. The peripheral vision, he just knew that Graham would be there. And he doesn't need a second invite. Edinburgh strike, but my goodness, Glasgow will be so frustrated. 2 lineouts so far this afternoon. None of them they've managed to regain possession, and you cannot afford that against this Edinburgh side.
The 2 players that Glasgow dealt with so well last week in Bill Mata and Duhan van der Merwe, absolutely carving up here at BT Murrayfield. It's a brilliant try.
And Simon Hickey, who's taken a bash to that left eye, but it's not altered his vision as he knocks over the extra 2, and it's a 7-0 lead for Edinburgh.
It's brilliant stuff. We just see the end of it here, and Mark Bennett does really well. Gives Bill Mata the ball early and says, go on, have a go. You've got a one-on-one, and we know how effective he is. He went between the 2 defenders, got his hands free, got the offload away, and that man there with a shock of blonde hair finishes it off all so easily.
It's a 10th try in Edinburgh colours for Darcy Graham, 2 of which have come in the 1872 Cup Derby games. He scored at Scotstoun last season.
Stay on. Use it.
But the vast majority of this game has been played in Edinburgh's half. But when they got their one opportunity to strike in Glasgow territory, boy, did they take it. Cummings. Skuman in there with the tackle. And Xander Fagerson. Price. Jones in at first receiver. Now Fraser Brown. Callum Gibbons, the Glasgow skipper. Hastings to Gray, and right now Glasgow unable to make any ground at all, going backwards.
We saw Hastings last week with a couple of really nice kicks in open play. Thought we might have seen that again there if they got through another phase, because Edinburgh's defence was doing so well.
See Captain Stuart McAnally frustrated. He knew there, he got caught in the tackle, and his tackle selection was just wrong. Hamish Watson was there looking to pilfer on the ground.
Just on the 22.
But McAnally got tied in, and you know that if you're stuck in that ruck, stopping the ball from coming out quickly, you're going to get penalised.
The last one was tight. Just make sure we're nice and clean on the early drive.
It's a massive line-out now for Glasgow. They've lost 2 big line-outs in this area. One results in a 7-pointer for Edinburgh. You're thinking something quite simple. You know, you've got a few options in there. Scott Cummins there, Johnny Gray, obviously a world-class operator in there, Ryan Wilson and Rob Harley, all competent jumpers.
Well, again, this time it's Toulis that goes up. Another steal from Edinburgh at the line-out. That's a real problem area for the Warriors. And look at this as Edinburgh go from deep again, and Kinghorn looking to get the fend off on the outside of Hugh Jones, but Edinburgh have gone 40-50 metres there. But the penalty goes against Stuart McAnally, in from the side.
I mean, he's going to kick to the corner again, but it's difficult. I've been in that position before, as both as, you know, a line-out caller and a line-out jumper, where it's impossible to win ball. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the line-out, but, you know, Ben Toulis is up in the air before Scott Cummins has just read that play.
Glasgow will be hoping that lightning strikes twice, because their line-out was pretty awful in the first half last week. They operated at only 50%. They operated only 36% possession and 36% territory. Right now they've got the bones of all the territory, but Edinburgh have made their possessions count. Glasgow have to win this line-out to actually give them a footing in the game. There we go.
They have won one through Scott Cummings. Now here goes Tungive, picking up from the base of the rock. There's a fight on for it though. Ali Price, Ollie Kebble helps it on to Fraser Brown. Now Rob Harley. WP Nell just encouraged out of there by Ali Price.
No, ripped out, it's fine, play on.
Scott Cummings has seen plenty ball in the opening exchanges. It's been an opening quarter that has really seen more rugby than the opening hour of the game at Scotstoun. And it's been entertaining stuff at BT Murrayfield. One try on the board, it's gone the way of the home side to Darcy Graham. But Glasgow looking for a response now.
Good read, Hickey.
DTH Van der Merwe, and Hickey is struggling to get back up onto his feet. Price for Brown, Hastings and Johnson. They've got the overlap. It's DTH Van der Merwe into Callum Gibbons. Edinburgh shuffled across well to close down the space. Now Ollie Kebble.
They are making yards, aren't they now, Glasgow? They just need to look after ball. We saw last week they can come onto the ball really hard.
Glasgow Warriors have put some effort into the opening 25 minutes here. They'll feel they should have something to show for it, and Hugh Jones has done just that. The man tasked with living up to his big star name, and he has come up with a big score for the Glasgow Warriors. Hugh Jones gets the visitors on the board.
I'll tell you something.
And the Glasgow side living up to the questions asked of Dave Rennie coming into this week's game. Patience in possession, particularly in that final third. They were patient, they carried, they waited for the opportunity. There was the killer pass from Johnson to Jackson. Jackson did enough to hold Bennett in the outside channel, and Hugh Jones hit the inside line, bursting through untouched under the sticks. And Glasgow show how dangerous they can be when they win that stock set-piece ball, build phases, build possession, and off the back of it they strike, and it is Hugh Jones who's been really prominent so far in this game, with and without the ball.
Adam Hastings adds the other two. For Hugh Jones, you wonder, could these two games just be the making of the player in a club jersey? Because we know exactly what he can do in the dark blue of Scotland.
Well, I think Gregor Townsend will be watching with a wry smile, because we've mentioned it before. Hugh Jones burst onto the Scotland scene, didn't he? Out of nowhere, really, and became world-class overnight. He really did. Some of his performances were exceptional, especially in attack. Dipped a little bit in form, and all it takes, isn't it? A bit of confidence. Saw last week a few line breaks, and then today as well. Unbelievable try.
He'll have been hurting to have missed out on that Rugby World Cup squad. We're seeing a little bit of a reaction here. He's had to be patient, waiting for the opportunity. He played well last week. He's shown well so far in this game, and we all know his ability with ball in hand. And today, defensively, he's made some pretty good reads as well.
Nope. Edinburgh get the penalty there, as there was a lift in the clear out.
Dangerous clear out. Lift it up.
Yeah, Jamie Richie, we know, really flexible, really good under ball. Quite unorthodox, really, for a tall man to get in these positions. As we see, Van der Merwe probably not used to being in them positions, really, having to clear a big man off. Nothing really, and it just rotates him round. And the body weight and momentum of Jamie Richie.
Yeah, thank you.
It's well refereed. It's just lifting a leg above waist height, above horizontal, and as a result, naturally, Jamie Ritchie's head went down the way. But again, you just look as a secondary tackler, Richie got in and just soaked the tackle up, knowing that he'd be able to keep his feet, get over the top of the ball. And DTH Van der Merwe showed how difficult it is to shift him legally when he gets in that position. And Blair Kinghorn's found a good outcome from that penalty as well.
First real opportunity for Edinburgh as well. Obviously scored the try through the line break of Duan van der Merwe and Bill Matter. They've got an opportunity now. You know, they've got an array of options to drive. They like slight peel plays at the back of the line out as well.
Edinburgh going to their strength, which is the line out, and Toulis, the provider of the catch at the back, and now McAnally has it, popping his head up every now and again just to survey his options. Now scampering down the side, Ryan Wilson trying to get hands on that, but there's a penalty being given against Scott Cummings. Advantage coming Edinburgh's way, so they've got a free shot here. Toulis.
Advantage.
Groom. This time it's George Taylor, the Scotland under-20s centre. Gilchrist. Groom to Hickey, who's now got the headband around his forehead. We'll go back for the penalty. Cummings, the man penalised.
Number 4 at the maul, pulling number 3 out. Okay. Number 4 pulling number 3 out the maul.
So well explained again by Mike Adamson.
Yeah.
Scott Cummings, that man. Mentioned Rory. Edinburgh got a good drive, well drilled under Richard Cockrell. Hence why they want to go there again. You can't pull players out on the side of the maul. As we see it unfold here, they get a good drive, they get a good set. As we see the Glasgow players spill out the side. Stuart McAnally, you don't see the incident closely there. And off the back of that, Glasgow's defence was pretty good. Just comes down to discipline. A lot of penalties last week. We saw a good 5 yellow cards, I think it was. They've got to be whiter than white. The referee will be aware of that.
Well, this is belief from Edinburgh. Gilchrist, the man to take it at the front. Harley in there to try and spoil anything that he possibly can. They've got it to death, and that is a small victory for Glasgow that could have big implications.
Yeah, small victory. You know, massive energiser though for that Glasgow team. Again, you know, I've been in and around these mauls before. Glasgow give them the front. You just see spins out. Rob Harley does a really good job. Just stays in there. He's allowed. He hasn't changed his mind. They say panic stations for Edinburgh. All ends up on the floor. White shirts all over it. And the rules state, the laws state that the ball doesn't come out. It goes to the opposition, which is Glasgow.
So we're getting on the back. Good
Some people just love being in malls, Jim. You were one of them. Rob Harley is another one of your species. A man who loves the close encounters. He just thrives in that area, and you saw him there. Him, Cummings, Ryan Wilson. They love that. That's a really big win for Glasgow. We talk about small wins. That's a big win. When Edinburgh are coming with a weapon of their maul, to be able to turn them over and win themselves a scrum and an exit opportunity is big.
Massive. They turned down the points. They went for the second drive. You know, you think you can assert your ascendancy on that. Glasgow took the driving line at the end of the game last week, scored, and ultimately won the game off the back of it. So it's a big one for Glasgow.
I've just spoken about Rob Harley loving the mauls and loving the tight exchanges. He's currently lining up at inside centre, outside Adam Hastings. Sam Johnson's dropped in on the blindside flank here.
Crash ball.
Crash ball Harley.
Set.
There he is.
There we go. Good spot, Rory. Let's see how it evolves. So we're not going to be able to see until they can get that settled between the front rows.
He's even stretched as well. You see Rob Harley, a bit of a stretch on him there. Something's happening.
You'd be pretty twitchy if you were out in that position, Jim. More than happy with your head between a prop and a hooker's bum cheeks. Not so much in open prairie.
Genuinely, I wouldn't know even what to do or even look if I was stood out there. I'd have no idea with all that space. I'd just be praying for it not to be a turnover in the scrum.
We're certainly giving the big build-up. Adam Hastings is going to throw a big miss pass here.
Well, I think DTH van der Merwe is probably the most important guy. He's lined up at first receiver inside Adam Hastings. We're not actually going to find out what they're going to do unless they choose to re-scrum.
Maybe this was the plan all along.
Schoolman being penalised for going earlier. The whole front row there of Edinburgh. Wait for the ball was Mike Adamson's call to them.
Yeah, early engagement's been given. this is the frustration about these derbies, having played in them, obviously watching the one last week and commentating on that. Not just you know, the Edinburgh, Glasgow ones, across the land, across the world, when these derbies happen, the scrums, you know, can be problematic and messy and frustrating and time-consuming. And again, it's the same as that one there.
Big area of discussion, isn't it? It takes so much time out of the game. Mike Adamson's actually refereed this really well so far for me this afternoon. But a brilliant outcome exit from Adam Hastings there to get them beyond the halfway line.
A huge booming right-footed kick, and this time it's coughed up onto the Glasgow side. And the Warriors can run it through Hastings. He's going to do well to get that back. Bill Mata all over it, and Adam Hastings holding on.
Yeah, I think Hamish Watson in there, getting the plaudits off the back of that turnover line out. You don't see that often from Edinburgh, normally outstanding on their own ball.
Yeah, Hastings just stepped inside, didn't he, and got a little bit away from his outside support there. Sometimes comes off the back of turnover ball. You've not got the same shape and understanding of roles. There, the ball goes into the midfield. Hastings defends in the outside centre channel, so Johnson hit the ball across, but you look how quickly Hamish Watson is, and particularly winning the shoulder height. He's over the top of that ball, gets latched onto the ball, and from there he is almost impossible, particularly when he has the big Fijian next to him, adding his weight as well.
Gilchrist, so secure at the line out. Now Taylor. And therefore Groom to Schoeman. Groom again, who has skippered this side over the World Cup period. And the scrum half feeds it to Hickey. Now Bennett, but Hastings up quickly to deny the dangerous Bennett any space. It's a fine tackle coming in from Xander Fagerson.
Look at the numbers that Glasgow are piling in that ruck. Ryan Wilson, Kebble, 3 men off their feet there, but they're believing that they can compete for the ball.
Taylor to Kinghorn, and Edinburgh inject a bit of pace into the move. Watson, it hasn't gone forward yet as Duhan van der Merwe gets involved. Now McInally and Schoeman with the pickup.
Yeah, he's not in the ball.
Watson just got it away in time to Hickey.
Great pickup, Hickey off his toes.
No.
Hamish Watson again to Pierre Schoeman. How many carries has he had?
It becomes difficult. Both teams get through so many phases. You're almost waiting for a penalty from the opposition because you don't seem to be going anywhere. 2 really good defences around the Nines pass.
Again, you look, the numbers that Glasgow are putting into these rucks, it does leave them exposed defensively if they can't slow the ball down. But right now, Edinburgh are struggling to be able to make that impact beyond the gain line to generate the quick ball they need to expose it.
The concern for Edinburgh with Hamish Watson, who's just gone back down with the play restarted. He was holding his knee and they had a physio on as well, tending to him.
Yeah, just a messy
There's Stuart McInally as well. There's 2 key men down for Edinburgh at the moment.
Just shows the physicality of this game, the collisions that go in. We saw Hamish Watson carrying the ball. Very rarely would you see him put into touch. Although he wasn't put into touch, but he nearly was. He had to throw an audacious offload, I think. He's such a key player for Edinburgh and Scotland, Hamish Watson.
Yeah, obviously devastated for Hamish Watson to have missed out on the big chunk of the Rugby World Cup, and his side certainly missed them there. But this afternoon, the physicality that we spoke of coming into this game, the question that was being asked of the Glasgow side is, can you go away from home and back that up week on week? Glasgow find themselves 4th in their conference at the moment, partly because they're consistently inconsistent.
You need to have a word.
We're just listening, Mike Adamson's just having a word with Grant Gilchrist there, just saying, just be careful in and around that ruck area, how you clear out the opposition. We'll hear what he's got to say to Gibbons.
A lot of your forward just asking me lots of questions. I need to concentrate on the game as much as you guys do, so just make sure the communication comes through you.
It's interesting you talk about the tables there, because both of them go into this in 4th in their conference tables.
Yeah.
But Glasgow's won Conference A, Leinster and Ulster are away with it. It already looks like those chasing, Glasgow in particular, are fighting for 1 place.
Yeah, Glasgow's win last week, we spoke about desperation for them. You know, it all would have been impossible for them if they would have lost last week, and they're in I'd say, a more competitive conference, it seems. They've managed to get that victory against Edinburgh last week, which puts them in position as we see McAnally going off. Big loss for Edinburgh.
Yeah, Edinburgh have lost their captain as Mike Willemse comes on. South African who joined from the Kings in the summer, and a really important role for him. Tungive had to take that going backwards, a pass that wasn't intended for him.
Not how you want to get your first touch of the afternoon, is it? A deflected pass with 3 defenders on top of you.
Just over 3 minutes to play at BT Murrayfield, and it is a first half that has flown by. Price for Hastings goes to the air, and that calls Kinghorn forward. He's such a secure catcher.
It was Xander Ferguson who tackled him as well, of course it was.
Kick this time comes from Hickey.
It's too long as well. If you're looking to compete there, it's given Adam Hastings time. They've managed to build a line off the back of it, and they're putting Rory Jackson under pressure there, but those are the kicks that you just want to create 50-50s.
Hastings just looking to win this kicking battle that's gone on in the last few exchanges. With Gilchrist, time to put the head down and charge into Scott Cummings, one of his rivals for a Scotland place. Jackson comes forward. Well timed in the tackle by George Taylor, but he's hurt himself in the process. Now, the Warriors go wide where Johnson had taken up the position tight on the touchline. There's more treatment. The Edinburgh medical staff have been busy of late. Oh, Hickey did really well there. But Graham's pass back inside couldn't be fielded, and it's advantage Glasgow Warriors here. They might look to spread it. Hastings thinks he's seen space. In comes Hugh Jones once again, and that did go forward. Well, it looked so promising for a moment for the Warriors, but they couldn't quite execute it.
Oh, I'll be interested to see this a second time. Hickey did really well to put Darcy Graham into a little bit of space down that touchline. I think they're just stopping for an injury, but around this breakdown, I thought Hugh Jones went to offload it, and then off the back of it, it looked like somebody got over the top of it. Oh, it was the supporting man that it came forward off there. Hugh Jones potentially looking to force that pass when it wasn't on to give. He looks like he's all right, having just taken a knock, but that's one of these small chances that the coaches look at and say potential opportunity, Jim. Yeah, it is, yeah. As we see this up and under, you know, we know Edinburgh like to kick. They don't really compete for the ball. He's got to get his timing spot on. George Taylor, which he does do, but hurts himself in that. It's not a HIA, knock to the shoulder, I think. Big collision in that, and he's happy to be back on his feet. Edinburgh down to 14 men for large parts of that play. Spoke to Rory Jackson coming into this game, and he identified that Edinburgh don't necessarily compete off the back of high balls. They wait for the receiving man to catch and then look just absolutely welly him. So Rory Jackson understands under that one there, like that one there, he takes the ball, but he's typically got 2 defenders who are looking to cut him in half. That time it was Taylor. He said he woke up last Sunday pretty sore, having done well to defuse a number of the high balls that Edinburgh threw at him.
I think the Warriors players had their Christmas night out as well that night.
That might be another reason as well.
Set.
Well, penalty goes Edinburgh's way to finish the half.
Yeah, big on the whistle there. No messing around for the reset. Straight down. That's what he's given against Glasgow. I think the whole front row, really.
Well, Kinghorn hasn't been overly ambitious with that.
Just take the hit more, just going straight down.
Just making it clear to Fraser Brown, who's
so
in the middle of that,
seconds.
as hooker. Edinburgh getting a bit of ascendancy at scrum time.
Also on the other side.
Interesting to see what Edinburgh do here. Potentially, if Blair Kinghorn had found an outcome there inside Glasgow's half, they'd maybe look to launch a strike move and then get into Glasgow's half and attack. I wonder whether they'll just look to get this ball out and get into the sheds at half-time.
Willemse, his first line out, and up goes Jamie Richie again. He's been a really useful option in there for Edinburgh.
No, don't touch him.
And Nick Groom decides that's enough for the first half. And once again, no big surprise that there's so little between these two. Nothing at all. At the break, it was 6 apiece at half-time at Scotstoun, 7 apiece at BT Murrayfield. And at the break at the National Stadium, it's Edinburgh 7, Glasgow Warriors 7.
Perfectly poised, isn't it? Half-time 7-all. Last week it was 6-all. We've had a significantly better 40 minutes in that opening first half between these two sides. The bumper crowd, I have to say, the atmosphere here at BT Murrayfield is absolutely outstanding. There have been a couple of moments in that first half that have really got the crowd out of their seats. And I hope it kind of follows suit to last week, whereby things really opened up, particularly in that final quarter.
Yeah, it really is a bumper crowd, a fantastic turnout at BT Murrayfield, over 26,000. That was this morning. There are walk-up sales as well, so it could well have gone beyond that. And they're in for a treat with this second half in store, particularly after the way that first half evolved and the way that both teams approached it. Really enterprising brand of rugby on show, and all 26,000 well entertained. Rory Jackson sends that one clear.
It's actually a decent outcome from Rory Jackson. As they went down that left side, I thought they've not got a left footer to clear there, but Rory Jackson showed his footballing abilities. They're significantly better than his choice of Barber, but there he got a good outcome from that exit off the left peg.
At least the moustache is gone. That's all I'm saying. He's slightly better this week.
That's 2 weeks in a row he's been getting some stick, Rory Jackson.
He loves it. He wouldn't do it if he didn't. He's changed he's traded in his purple moustache for a bloodied red moustache this week.
Outside arm.
Well, and the moustache was all for a good cause for charity. I'm not sure what the haircut's made of.
We see another line out, gone wayward.
There's the mark.
Mike Villimanson on for Stuart McAnally. I mean, anyone can see that's not straight. Frustration for Edinburgh because that's 2 line-outs now. Pride themselves on set piece. Also a turnover at the Mall as well, close to the Glasgow try line in that first half. On the flip side of that, they're doing really well at scrum time. Wonder if Glasgow have got the fixes they needed by Petrus Duplessis at half-time. Yes, they have.
Edinburgh sidestep left.
You can hear there Mike Adamson. Sidestep left from Edinburgh. And Adam Hastings just managed to get away from the clutches of Mark Bennett just when he was being driven backwards into a really vulnerable position. Johnny Gray now takes the Warriors beyond halfway. Johnson was hit really hard by WP Nell. The timing was good though. Rob Harley out in the wide channels. Xander Fagerson. Ali Price. DTH van der Merwe and Harley again. A makeshift winger in this second half.
And release.
He's given up on his time in the centre, isn't he? Fancies going out wider.
It's really interesting, Glasgow. They keep Rob Harley on that wing to try and keep that width.
Okay.
He is fit as a fiddle. I don't know how quick he is compared to Darcy Graham, but they like him there.
It's a probing kick, and it's a good win in terms of metres there for the Warriors.
Yeah, and Glasgow not overplaying there. Adam Hastings looking up. You just see the replay of the tackle there. VP Nell fully committed, going to his Scotland teammate Sam Johnson there. But Adam Hastings just lifted his head, saw that Darcy Graham had stepped up into the defensive line, space in behind, finds an outcome.
Gilcoat. Thank you.
Fraser Brown looks for Scott Cummings. That has been the go-to ball. They had their line-out issues in that first half. And the Warriors look to have sorted it out. And look at the drive from the Mole as well. Fraser Brown takes them up.
Grant Gilchrist has done really well in that. He was legal, made a mess of it.
Ali Price shoves WP Nell out the way. Ollie Kebble next to have a go. Head down from Ryan Wilson. Price, it's quicker ball for the scrum half, looks inside.
Tackle.
Gibbons, the skipper. But it's Edinburgh who get the decision there.
Yeah, fantastic by Jamie Richie. He's competed hard at probably the last 5 or 6 breakdowns. He's got his just rewards then. As I said, he's one of them special kind of players that can get in these unbelievably difficult positions and just ride the storm and ride the physicality of the clean. See that left arm there.
Callum. Spoke to you before.
He's distinctive as well, isn't he, with the headband, the socks around the ankles, the orange boots. There he is, judo international as a youngster, and he's obviously strong in that area. Wide base, gets over the top of the ball, and he's almost impossible to move.
For a tall man as well, you know, Hamish Watson in the 7 jersey, seen him doing that for Scotland, as we have Jamie Richie, I suppose. It's a good skill to have, that athletic, tall, rangy figure, but being able to get in them positions, like you said, Rory.
Brings something a bit different to Magnus Bradbury, who he's come in for this afternoon as well. Maybe a little bit more dynamic around the field.
Change for Edinburgh, leaving the field, number 3, WP Nell, replaced by number 18.
Here goes Mata. Simon Bergen is on for WP Nell for Edinburgh. Hickey with the high one. Jackson has been really safe under those balls. But it's been coughed up. Bennett got his hands on it. Watson and Hickey hit hard by Wilson. Mata steps inside. He's looking for the offload, which he did so brilliantly with in the first half to put Darcy Graham away.
No, up you get. Up you get.
Oh, Wilson and Groom just coming together, but Mike Adamson telling both players just to get on with things. Taylor straightens and sets up the play for Groom to Bergen and his first carry for the Scotland international. Hickey for Bennett, and now Kinghorn out the back of the hand to Darcy Graham. Xander Fagerson with a good tackle.
Go pin him in there, ball's available. Ball was out.
Toulis now, the inside pass. Groom for Hickey. And Gilchrist. Glasgow again for the second week in a row. Their defence looking hungry for work. But it could be on here for Duhan van der Merwe. Ratu Tungive wrestles him to the ground.
Yeah, there's an element where you've got to throw caution to the wind a little bit. Little offloads out of the tackle because this Glasgow defence is so strong.
That was the time to do it as well, because it was penalty advantage.
Roll to the side.
Here, Mike Adamson.
3, don't get involved.
And the first minor scuffle.
Lads, don't get involved. Back we go.
Will easily just peter out. Jamie Ritchie and Scott Cummings, friends again.
Man bags, just asking each other how they enjoyed their Christmas.
Through the captain.
Here you go, Mike Adamson being really clear to both sides. If you want to communicate with me, come through your captains. I think it was Xander Fagerson that was penalised for rolling off the back of the tackle towards the 9 rather than out the side or out on his defensive line side. We'll see on the replay here, it was just Ben Toulis, good chop tackle by Ryan Wilson. Yeah, and there's Xander Fagerson. Oh no, was it against Ryan Wilson there, Jim?
Well, I think it was. I think Bill Matter does a really good job there. I think Xander Fagerson gets in a really good position, and Bill Matter, using his experience, pulls him over. You see him shaking his head. I don't know what to do. I'm not a lip reader, but that's what it looked like, he said. So, and it is one of them. It's the breakdown, isn't it? You know, this is going to be the difference in this game. It looks something subtle around there. Who can win that turnover at the crucial point, and who can take their points when on offer.
Well, and on offer here for Edinburgh. They've elected to go for the post instead of the corner as they did in the first half, and Simon Hickey strikes it well and guides Edinburgh into a 3-point lead.
An afternoon like today, whereby you know it's not going to be a big win for either side. It's those 3 points. You just need to keep the scoreboard moving. That's the first time since the Darcy Graham try that Edinburgh have got some points on the scoreboard. But first blood in that first half, and really interesting already seeing some body language from Edinburgh, just slightly more conservative in this second half with the way they're playing.
The clearance from Edinburgh touched in flight. And that gives the Warriors a counter-attacking platform. Jackson to Johnson, who's so good at straightening that line. More than happy just to run into whatever Edinburgh wall is presented in front of him. Hastings and Wilson. It is there for Price. Hastings decides a change of tactic this time. Cummings. Glasgow going through the phases again. Johnny Gray has put in a power of work. He was 23 tackles, the most in the Pro 14 last weekend. No real surprise when he arrives at the top of those tables.
And them tight exchanges, Glasgow just seem to have the better of Edinburgh, don't they? Manage to make the gain line, slightly get over it, slightly more physical in them areas.
Historically as well, it's been Edinburgh's physicality and pack power up against Glasgow's willingness to play. Glasgow seem to be matching physically this afternoon again.
Price has it. Wilson, it's nicely set up for Hastings. Through the gap, gets the offload away. Price on his shoulder. The Warriors to within 3 meters of the Edinburgh line. Key moment here perhaps. Ollie Kebble is the first to have a dig at the try line. Now Fraser Brown.
Discipline here.
Glasgow look for the perfect presentation. to launch the attack. It's with Gibbons, and Schumann has managed to get over that, and it's being held on to. Schumann targeted the isolated ball, and it was his all day long.
Yeah, it's that man. Bit of a call hero over this side of Scotland with Edinburgh. You know, there's complaints of no-arm tackles in the one before, as we see the break by Adam Hastings, just as we said that Glasgow are making headway in and around the collisions. I think we're going to see the potential no-arm tackle that results in the turnover by Pierre Schumann, by Jamie Richie. There was a complaint just before that as well, which I don't like to see actually, but if you feel like that has happened, let's hear what Mike Adamson is hearing.
Waiting for him to get treated. That looked like a no-arms tackle.
No, Neil Pattleson is going to be called into action here. Mike Adamson will have a look.
I want to look at that tackle by Sixer.
Yeah, they're just teeing it up for you now, Mike.
It's Jamie Richie, and he goes in, for me, he goes in a no-arms tackle, and he actually gets a second chance and grabs a hold of the legs and manages to sort of hide the fact that he missed them first time round with the no-arms. Here you go, Fraser Brown on the carry. Schumann goes in to, it's not that one, I think it's
okay with that one. I think it's the one
potentially afterwards here. You see Schumann gets to his feet.
Yeah.
And it's Gibbons on the carry there. Jamie Richie drops his
looks like he's going straight for the ground.
Head solo, and he gets away with it second time, which meant that Mike Adamson maybe didn't see it first time round.
I think you're right, Rory. The first one, the complaint of Fraser Brown off the floor, looks fine to me. It's this one. You see, Jamie Richie, it's a difficult one in them positions. Trying to go low, try and put a dominant tackle in.
Angle that you saw first, Mike?
Yes, please. So first camera angle. And I just want to make sure there's no attempt to wrap. He's going straight to his hands, making a no-arm tackle.
I wonder here if, is it John, the support line, I think it's maybe Ryan Wilson on the support line of sure. Callum Gibbons, potentially takes his left arm out of the tackle. No, I think he's on his knees.
So it's going to be a penalty against number 6. Okay? Yeah. So, no, for me, he's not making an attempt to wrap, he just goes straight down with no attempt to make a legal tackle.
Well, Mike Adamson, again, very clear in his delivery. He's refereed this game very sensibly indeed.
We didn't think there was an attempt to wrap, so it'll be a penalty.
Yeah, he has, Rory, and these are the big decisions, aren't they, in the game that will result in how this game finishes. And so them small margins, Rory.
Pretty clear that the crowd don't necessarily agree with Mike Adamson, as you would expect. I think he got that one right. Jamie Richie's just dropped his knees to make sure that tackle height, he's going to chop Callum Gibbons, but by doing so, he's not managed to wrap his arms. He's not made an effort to wrap his arms. So it goes down as definitively a no-arms tackle. It's only a penalty, but interesting here. Glasgow go for the corner.
I mean,
time's off.
Time will tell, Rory. I mean, they scored from this position at the end of the last game last week to win the game. Edinburgh were well aware of that. You know, Glasgow are good in the drive when they win the ball. It's a big decision to go to the corner, especially not taking the 3 points and leveling the match.
Huge call, and they go to the very front of the line out. It will be there for Glasgow ball. And they tried something a little bit unorthodox there. And will they be able to back up their decision
onside
to go for the line out instead of taking the 3 that Edinburgh took just a few moments ago up the other end? Henry Pyrgos is on at scrum half for the hosts as Nick Groom heads off. Ali Price and Sam Johnson, so many in and around the tackle area. Hamish Watson scrapping for every single little advantage that he can get. Glasgow driving closer. Price has it. Short it goes for Cummings, who's over. He's had a big game up to this point, and that's a huge moment as the Warriors get their second score and an unlikely source in Scott Cummings.
Yeah, it's a huge moment. They decided to go to the corner, didn't come away with a drive, but we said Glasgow are so good in this area, aren't they? They're so good at putting momentum on the ball, getting over that gain line. And Scott Cummins, I tell you, ain't the first time that he runs them hard lines and makes yards and breaks tackles. And he does it at the right time, in the right place, to put Glasgow in front.
It's a really nicely timed pass by Ali Price, but you said it, Jim. It's a 6'6" missile coming through on the outside shoulder of Grant Gilchrist. And the intent that he shows when he runs off the shoulder of Ali Price literally just says to Gilchrist, stop me if you can. On that occasion he couldn't. He timed his run well, he hit it with intent, and he burst through the line. Well taken try.
You know, sometimes the Scotland coaches or international coaches are looking for players' point of difference. With Scott Cummins, his real point of difference is this. You know, it looks like an easy try, but trying to get that momentum, trying to get your timing right, trying to cut your feet so you can get that pass whilst running at full speed is difficult. And we've seen him in open play do that and break the line. But like I said, that's resulted in 7 points for his team now.
Scott Cummins, who had a disallowed try in the final moments against La Rochelle a few weeks ago, but he enjoyed that one. Good run by Adam Hastings after Rory Jackson had failed to claim the restart. It's Xander Fagerson now.
Use it!
15 minutes into this second half.
No, he's off the feet. Off feet now, no hands.
The intensity at the breakdown all afternoon has been unrelenting. Both sides really looking to compete and slow down opposition ball. Mike Adamson's refereed it really well, but it's been a proper contest.
Hastings with the clearing kick finds Kinghorn. And then Darcy Graham knocked back by Rob Harley.
And off 6.
Now Pyrgos to Hickey and Bennett as well, up against his old teammates. And a good battle between him and Hugh Jones, two men that their form might just get them back involved in the Scotland setup.
Yeah, I think Pyrgos is looking to set up a box kick, try and get them out. Put the pressure back on Glasgow.
Here it comes from Pyrgos. He gets really good height and accuracy from it. Jackson wrapped up by Richie.
Let it come. Let it come.
So the Warriors were vindicated in their decision to go for that line out after Richie was penalised for the no arms tackle. Got their reward with 7 points and a 4-point lead in the game. And that's all they needed a week ago.
If that's straight out.
It holds up and bounces and almost into the path of Ratu Tungive.
Time off.
A couple of changes for both sides here. Looks like Aki Seuli will come on together with George Horn for the Warriors, and for Edinburgh, Matt Scott's coming on in the midfield, I think, for Taylor, and Bradbury is on for Hamish Watson. So it's been a bruising encounter. We've spoken about the physicality. The ball in play time's been high as well. Both sides getting to high phases throughout the afternoon, so it has been tiring. Impact called upon for both coaches.
Well, and Jamie Rich is just receiving some treatment as well. So we see George Horn on for his 50th appearance for the Warriors. 24 tries in that time. He really is a danger. He'll add even more spark to proceedings.
With the retirement of Greg Laidlaw announced obviously last week as well from international rugby, you've got to say that it'll be a straight up hit out between Price and Horn, I would say, for that starting jersey in the Six Nations. But I know Eddie Jones talks about the finishers. I think Dave Rennie has an embarrassment of riches with these two, both pretty similar players, really lively, both look for that second touch, good basic skill set. George Horn, everyone talks about his fitness. He's so alert, so sharp.
Step off. Step.
Yeah, watch the
Willemse straight to Richie, who's back on and looking sharp. And it's Matt Scott, great to see him back fit in an Edinburgh jersey. Bill Mata with another huge charge. Big collision though that came on the tackle from Johnny Gray. And that goes loose. It's Glasgow advantage, but George Horn has a long way to go back to retrieve that. Jackson and Hastings. Jones outside him. Will come back for the original knock-on.
Always going back under pressure.
Yeah, come back 70 metres for the knock-on advantage. Glasgow would have wanted the opportunity to attack there, but it was two really good phases off the line out for Edinburgh. Simple attack. Matt Scott, his first touch, hits up, gets over the gain line. Round the corner comes Bill Mata. He gets over the gain line. But the Glasgow defence did really well. Edinburgh swept back towards the blind side. The front five who had come out of that line out lifted their heads, held their shape, and then ended up forcing an error from Mark Bennett.
Let's go. Okay, you two keep working hard. Good bind, good picture, elbow up.
Well, I mentioned the 26,000 tickets that had been sold by this morning. There has been a really good walk-up gate as well. 27,437 the official attendance at BT Murrayfield, a record for this fixture.
Bind. Set. Hold. Get the ball in.
And you just know it's going to go right to the last whistle, this one.
Stay.
Horn to Johnson and Hastings now. Jackson and DTH van der Merwe trying to deal with the ricochet.
Yeah, good pressure by Darcy Graham coming up there. Comes from the scrum. Scrum goes down. Mike Adamson just plays it. He's had enough. Like probably most people, the scrums keep going down. Just a lazy-ish kick from Rudy Jackson. The right option again, the kicking option is on, you know, especially when the Edinburgh defence is coming up so hard.
Yeah, it's well defended. It's not that sharp an attack from Glasgow, and you get these launch plays. No outcome there. Edinburgh managed to get a good attacking platform here. Oh, look at
Gilchrist takes it. Here's Matt Scott bursting through. What an impact this could be for Matt Scott. Has he got there to the post?
Scored it.
Has that been grounded? Edinburgh certainly believe it has. Mike Adamson says it was held up. Well, you thought the momentum was surely going to take Matt Scott over there.
It's a big call. It's a big call from Mike Adamson to call it. Firstly, look at this line here. Richie hits Matt Scott on that unders line. He beats Gibbons on the inside, steps off his right to get beyond DTH van der Merwe. Now, if he's to ground it by the post, he has to touch the base of the post. What Mike Adamson has said here, and I think he's going to have a look. He might have heard. Did he get the ball to the base of the post? Oh, it looks like Rudy Jackson might have just done enough.
I tell you, if Rudy Jackson has done enough from what we're seeing, that is an unbelievable tackle. I know he doesn't actually tackle the man, but what Rudy Jackson does there could be a match winning.
Decisions, no try, held up in goal. Richie had it short and then I went in goal. So let's review this to see.
Here's the best angle now.
Well, it's the interesting thing because the on-field decision is no try, so he's going to have to get something conclusive to prove that has been grounded over the line by an Edinburgh hand or against the post.
Look at Rudy Jackson's right arm, and watch the effort here from Rudy Jackson. He understands the threat is the post, so he gets his right arm there in front of Matt Scott and prevents him from grounding it. So as a result, look at him here. He gets the right arm in and stops the ball from going up against the post. It's a brilliant piece of defensive play. I think Matt Scott potentially gets it second time round, but it's not at the base of the post. He has to go higher.
We've just got one more angle, I think, Mike.
Yeah.
Well, this is a proper all-hands to the pump defensive effort from the Warriors as Tungive and Jones came in. Van der Merwe was there, so too Horn, but perhaps the crucial intervention was from Rudy Jackson.
We still got held up. Have you got any conclusive evidence that there's been a grounding against the base of the post?
No, Mike, there's no clear evidence of the grounding.
Okay, so we're going to go held up, Scrum, Glasgow.
I think you've got to say Mike Adamson's instinct was correct there. That's an incredible call.
Because it's in goal. Scrum.
Oh, it really is. It's absolutely outstanding refereeing. And to be fair, we probably would have questioned him if he hadn't gone for a look at the TMO in such a big call, in such a big game. I don't mind him taking 90 seconds, 2 minutes to have a look at that and refer to Neil Patterson. As it is, he got it bang on. My goodness, that could have been one of the tries of the season from Matt Scott there off the bench. What an impact. But Rory Jackson, has he ever made a more important defensive intervention than that one?
Henry, when the ball's available.
Well, it's still there for Edinburgh to try and finish with an hour on the clock. And the crowd get behind the home side. But there'll be a good split. There's a lot of numbers have made their way east from Glasgow. Solid charge there from Edinburgh, but down it goes.
It's a really good scrum that by Edinburgh. You know, the worry is for Edinburgh and this home crowd is when you go back and you look at the TMO, it just takes away the momentum slightly. Yes, you've got to go and have a look. You want to take the opportunity to look and use the technology that you've got. From an Edinburgh perspective, it gives Glasgow then 2 or 3 minutes to regroup.
Let's go.
They'll fancy this though, Jim, won't they? 5 metre scrum, they've had a little bit of the edge.
When you look at that man, Richard Cockrell, you know what he wants. He'll want to see this Edinburgh pack take the Glasgow pack over the try line.
Simon Hickey and Blair Kinghorn both straight out the back of the scrum. 2 other backs. 2 backs left, 2 backs right. Otherwise, likely that they'll go with the wheel, but I don't expect to see this ball come out if Edinburgh get the nudge.
The backs have a choice if they want it, but instead, Bill Mata with the pick-up, and now going from the bounce. It's Henry Purgos, the former Warrior, who gets a score for Edinburgh, and this seesaw battle swings back in favour of the capital side. It just spills over a little bit afterwards between the players, but it's Purgos who celebrates, and Edinburgh have the score.
Yeah, you see the scrum, they do get on the front foot. You think they're going to keep it in the scrum. Bill Mata's looking for the ball. Desperation to score. The issue you've got here with Purgos there is there's so much room there because the Glasgow Warriors players are so worried about the scrum. They stay in there at wheels, and because the ball is quick off this carry, Bill Mata with a good carry, it's easy for Henry Purgos.
It's exactly that, Jim. You actually see all of Glasgow's back row, and Harley makes the tackle. Gibbons and Ryan Wilson go round the far side as they should, and then you're relying on the front 5 to get up off the deck and defend the near side. They weren't quick enough. Purgos pounced on it, and he goes in to give Edinburgh the lead again. It looks like Adam Hastings is being led off the field.
I'll have a word on that.
Well, that would be a huge blow for the Glasgow Warriors off the back of this, as Simon Hickey looks to take Edinburgh into a 3-point lead. Edinburgh 17, Glasgow Warriors 14, and it's double trouble for the Warriors as Adam Hastings has made his way off.
Yeah, we just look at this. The wheel goes up on the left-hand side. Bill Mata goes against the wheel. Harley makes the tackle. The overfold. Purgos lifts his head and just sees a huge gap. Doesn't need a second invite. Edinburgh strike back, make the most of that opportunity, and they get the reward for their break. There's Gavin. Adam's dad obviously will be a little bit concerned, but I think he is off for an HIA. It means a reshuffle to the Glasgow backline. Nick Grigg come off the bench to go into the midfield. Jackson looks like he's stayed at fullback, and potentially Hugh Jones.
Yeah, we'll see how it pans out when Glasgow have the ball. Who goes into the 10 spot?
The natural would be Rory Jackson to play at 10.
Well, that was where he played so much of his rugby in his first spell with the Warriors. Here's Aki Seuli, got a really good body position to carry there. Now Fraser Brown.
And release blue.
Well, it was at this stage last week that the game came to life.
16.
It's really been helter-skelter from the first whistle this week. Completely different contest.
That man, yeah. Mike Williamson. Just not releasing. They're the coach killers, aren't they? Glasgow not really going anywhere. The back of a box kick where Edinburgh wanted to put them. As we see this scrum again. It's difficult as a front five. I've been in that position before. You're pushing, you don't know when the ball's gone. You're expecting Edinburgh to keep the ball in, and they don't. Scott Cummins, first man on that loose head side of the scrum.
Looks like Adam Hastings just caught the hip of Bill Mata off the back of that carry.
Johnny Gray's take up the line out. When one team seems in the ascendancy, the other takes over as Bergen is told to go back to his side of the maul. Jackson, who is the man in the 10 position. Jaco van der Walt is on for Edinburgh, but that's DTH van der Merwe going through the middle. Now Fraser Brown.
See if Edinburgh can deal with this relentless Glasgow attack. We saw the try from a similar position before. Can they deal with the physicality of these Glasgow runners?
Fagerson next. Now George Horn has a look. And the snipe. George Horn bounces off Darcy Graham to within a metre. Now Seouli, who manages to contort his body trying to have a dig at the line. They're so close. Johnny Gray. Bill Mata, the man tasked to halt his progress. Cummings has to be left alone by Bergen.
You get this close, it's a foregone conclusion if Glasgow can be patient.
Here goes George Horn, he got some assistance from van der Merwe. And the score has been given a third Warriors try. And now it's them that take control of this game. What an intriguing battle this is.
And the unlikeliest candidate from a yard out would be George Horn, all 12 and a half stone of him on the pick and go, but he picks his head up and he sees the blind sides open. It's Darcy Graham there, almost by himself. Henry Purgos manages to add a bit, but you see Xander Fagerson actually adds a bit of his kilo as well, as does DTH van der Merwe, and it's enough to thrust George Horn over. As Jim said, when they get within that close to the Edinburgh line, Glasgow Warriors all afternoon have fancied it, and that man there scores.
And if Cocker's had any hair, he'd be pulling it out because it all came off the back of a penalty. It did, that pressure. We know how good Glasgow are in the line-out drive when they win ball. And like he says, Rory, or like we both said, you get that close to the try line, it's a foregone conclusion if you can look after ball. It's game on. What a game.
Here's Rory Jackson taking over from Adam Hastings with the goal-kicking duties. Big moment this. The lead is 2. And that one drifts wide. It stays at that. Glasgow Warriors retake the lead. It's 17-19.
So what you see, Rob Harley, you might be able to see in number 6, just holding a few players down. Ben Toulis on that side. Bill Mata as well. Almost opens up that side. There's the experience that this Glasgow Warriors team need.
The dark arts, Jim.
I know.
You love it.
Well, there are a few certainties in life, but one of them, if there is rugby being played, George Horn will be scoring tries, and he's done it again.
Both scrum halves impact off the bench as well. Both have got themselves on the score sheet.
Carried. Just hold, White, just hold.
Here's Jackson.
Get onside now.
And it's right into the arms of Bill Mata. Who's going to be the first up to tackle him? Nick Grigg dives in low. Toulis now. Van der Walt to Schoeman. Lovely inside ball from Kinghorn to Scott. And Purgos now dragged down. Scintillating stuff from Edinburgh. Van der Walt. Can they now finish this off? This scoreline could be anything from here. Who knows what's going to happen in the final 12 minutes at BT Murrayfield.
Off feet now.
Kinghorn. popped up for Schumann. It was Scott rather with the last carry. Pyrgos and Gilchrist. Scrum half has it once more, and now Schumann. Jaco van der Vaart spots a gap between Fagerson and Gibbons. They weren't giving him too much space, so here goes Richie. And Pyrgos again, doesn't he look lively against his old side? Already got one try. There's advantage coming for Edinburgh. They've got a free play. Oh, they'll take the penalty.
Whoa. First infringement, tackle not rolling, affecting the clear out. First offence, tackle not rolling and affecting the clear out.
I think Glasgow had an opportunity there for the steal. They just didn't necessarily have the right guys around the ball to be able to force it as it is. First tackler not getting out from the breakdown gives Edinburgh the penalty. Interesting to see. It's only a 2-point game. Kinghorn shaping for the corner when the game is 3 points gets Edinburgh the lead. You just see here, Pyrgos sees an opportunity down the blind side, but runs up a bit of a dark alley. As it is, as Hugh Jones, you see, actually puts his hands up. He knew that either his tackle selection wasn't great or his technique wasn't great. Ended up on the ball side. Easy penalty for Mike Adamson to give opportunity gone for Glasgow to steal. Opportunity for Edinburgh to launch this maul again.
Here we go once more. The final 10 minutes where this game was won and lost a week ago. Schumann has it at the base. Here go Edinburgh, they've got the momentum. Just another few metres to go. Down he goes. Mike Adamson goes under the post for the penalty try. Glasgow take down the ball. It looked inevitable. And Edinburgh now retake the leads.
Like you said, big decision, like Glasgow made last week to win the game from their driving line out. Edinburgh have done the same this week. Instead of taking the 3 points, they've thrown caution to the wind, and it's paid off. Not just 7 points of the penalty try, but a yellow card as well.
Yeah, I think it was Johnny Gray who was yellow carded. Glasgow Warriors will finish this game with 14 men.
As we see, brilliant position, brilliant driving position. Edinburgh in optimal position to drive. It's difficult, the momentum falling down on top of you. It could have been a number of the Glasgow Warrior players there.
That's a good call though, isn't it, Jim? They're scoring. We see Johnny Gray there, number 5.
Just slips.
He slips, ends up taking Mata to the ground. The maul comes down sooner than it would have done. Edinburgh had the momentum moving towards the line. It's a good call by Mike Adamson. Johnny Gray is going to spend the rest of the time in the bin.
Was a guy not rolling away, so I couldn't allow it.
Tom Gordon's on for the Glasgow Warriors. I was going to ask you, before they took that penalty to the corner, which camp would you rather be in? 2 points down or 2 points up with the momentum in Edinburgh's favour? Now there's surely only one.
It's a really difficult one. It's a really high pressure game. Discipline's key. We've seen that it came off the back of Hugh Jones not rolling away. The try before from Glasgow, from George Horn's try, came from Villeminson not rolling away as well from the tackle. It's a really high pressure game.
Ryan Wilson has made his way to the sidelines, and on for the Warriors, Nico Matawalu. When they need something special, he can so often be the man to come up with it.
Yeah, and it's a great kick-off from Rory Jackson there. You see Nico Matawalu on, the sort of guy that can light up this game. It really has been a topsy-turvy game, hasn't it? But neither side is yet out of it. But as you said, Rory, Edinburgh 5-point lead and a man up. 15 plays 14 for the rest of this match, with Johnny Gray now in the bin off the back of that maul. Now it's just down to the Edinburgh pack giving the platform. Henry Pyrgos and Jaco van der Vaart being able to play rugby in the right areas together with Blair Kinghorn for Glasgow. They've got to try and force something here.
I'll tell you what a difference as well Matt Scott's made since he's been on the pitch. It's been in fantastic form for Edinburgh. Missed out last couple of weeks with injury, but what a difference he's made, breaking that line, coming on. It's been fantastic. It's great for Scotland as well. competition they've got. Obviously opposite him, Hugh Jones has been fantastic as well.
He's had such a hard time with injuries, Matt Scott.
Head up, Cully. Bind. I'll go break. Again.
Edinburgh look to probably re-scrum again. Yeah, they think they've got the edge. They obviously scored from a scrum earlier on. They've had the lion's share of free kicks and penalties from it. Just going back to the midfield though, isn't it great to see Matt Scott and Mark Bennett both fit? Obviously George Taylor, breakthrough season for him. Chris Dean, who was obviously in the studio at half-time, still to come back to fitness. And on the Glasgow side, Hugh Jones back, enjoying his rugby. Nick Grigg obviously coming off the bench. Big decisions for Gregor Townsend to make when you think that Duncan Taylor and Rory Hutchinson, Chris Harris all playing down in the Premiership as well. Sam Johnson's a gimme for me. He's the starting Scotland 12.
Edinburgh penalty, and they are managing this game very well indeed, because as these infringements occur, they take the scrums and the clock continues to tick.
Yeah, big call that's paid off again in the scrum. Edinburgh have got the better of Glasgow today. Pierre Schumann's got the better of Xander Ferguson in them tight areas.
Jamie Batty is on for Edinburgh, the former Glasgow Warrior who made 47 appearances. And after his appearance last week, made him the 8th to play for both Glasgow and Edinburgh in the Pro 14 era, joining Mark Bennett and Henry Pyrgos.
Yeah, not for me.
For the change for Edinburgh, leaving the field, number 1, Pierre Stewart, replaced by number 17, Jamie Batty.
So 5 to go. They are within a score, but there's a major advantage for Edinburgh. 5 points up and a man up. It's a good line out to the back for Bradbury to take.
That's blue to ground, blue to ground. No, wait.
Well, it's there.
Wait, leave it.
Glasgow Warriors being encouraged to leave the ball alone. Toulis straightens, he made a good extra couple of meters, launching his body forward. Batty with his first touch. Pyrgos, and big tackle coming in from Tom Gordon and Robert Harley.
This is when it becomes high pressure. Glasgow want to try and make a dominant collision, try and steal the ball back without giving away a penalty.
Well, Edinburgh have already seen off one of the 5 minutes. They're trying to protect their 5-point lead, and this is the best way to do it. And was there a lift there by Batty? There was.
Yeah, we saw a similar one in the first. Oh, I think it was this. That's been a long half on Jamie Richie. As we see, Jamie Batty, one of his first involvements, is trying to get rid of George Turner in that breakdown. He does it illegally.
Glasgow Warriors take play into Edinburgh half.
Yes. Yeah. You just see off the back Jamie Batty coming round the back there, lifting the leg. It's just poor technique at the clear out, gives Glasgow another opportunity.
And it comes from George Turner, who was the winning try scorer a week ago. Jackson, here's Matawalu, there's no space for him to work in. Edinburgh aware of his danger. Matt Scott made a good tackle. Aki Seuli, 3 minutes to go. Jackson. Glasgow a man light. If they're going to win it, it is going to be dramatic. They're going to have to do it the hard way. Batty thought he'd got some of that. Fagerson. Again, Glasgow without the younger Fagerson and Matt, who's suspended. Now here goes Matawalu, he wants to do it all alone. Horn to Turner. Well tackled by Bradbury. Jackson and Fagerson. Edinburgh's defence hitting the tackles solidly and knocked on by Grigg. And that could be costly. It's back in the hands of Jaco van der Walt. Here goes Mata now. They can spread it wide, and they do. It's Bennett. He's got Darcy Graham alongside him. It's a sprint for the corner, and Darcy Graham to win the game for Edinburgh. I told you it was going to be dramatic, and that is exactly what it is. Darcy Graham has gone over for Edinburgh's 4th try of the game. It's a bonus point. It's going to be the victory, and BT Murrayfield is on its feet. This has been absolutely sensational.
It sure has. It finishes off. It's a Glasgow turnover from Nick Grigg there. You see the fight from Jaco van der Walt to get away from Nico Matawalu. And off the back of it, Bill Mata, hands, Matt Scott. Bennett puts on the afterburners, and knowing that when he give it to Darcy Graham, he puts his jet shoes on and goes into the corner and picks up the 5 points for Edinburgh. It was a game that was so tight for so long, but Edinburgh have taken the spoils this afternoon. That man Darcy Graham, 2 tries. A lot of the work done for him. He finishes off, doesn't need a second invite.
Absolutely nothing in this game again. But it is just that turnover, isn't it? You can see the mismatch coming off that turnover.
All smiles in the Edinburgh camp and all around BT Murrayfield.
Go on, just put clock off, please. Clock off.
And Glasgow Warriors are going to come away with nothing as the clock goes red.
Put it back on this.
Jaco van der Walt lines up the kick just to hammer home Edinburgh's advantage. It won't quite go, but well, Rory Lawson, first of all, your Guinness man of the match.
Yeah, it's been an epic battle. That man there in picture, what a reaction we've seen from him this afternoon to the disappointment of last week. Set-piece scrum, Edinburgh have had the edge. Part of it coming from Schumann. Around the field, he has carried well. He's got his set-piece right. He's defended incredibly well. Our Guinness man of the match is Pierre Schumann.
Yeah, I agree, Rory. He was brilliant last week as opposite man. Zander Fagerson picked up man of the match. But it's his work rate from Schumann. Every single time he puts on that Edinburgh jersey, his carrying ability, his tackling ability, and his desire for his teammates.
It has to be said, there have been a number of outstanding performances this afternoon. Obviously, Darcy Graham's picked up a brace. He's not had as much ball as he would have liked, but my goodness, he's taken the chance when they came. For both sides, it's been so physical, it's been bruising. There's been a massive battle at the breakdown. But for me, the edge has just come around Edinburgh's set piece and their ability to find a way in the second half to take the game away from Glasgow.
Well, not that long ago, Glasgow Warriors went 19-17 up through George Horn. But 2 tries in quick succession late on from Edinburgh. There are a few calls of get the ball off the pitch from the Edinburgh forwards, but Duhan van der Merwe looking for more. Edinburgh have already got the bonus point secured. And that will do it. A modern classic between these two in this ancient derby, the oldest derby in rugby. And that was quite spectacular stuff that Glasgow Warriors and Edinburgh served up this afternoon. You couldn't tell 3/4 of the way through that game, 7/8 of the way through that game, which team was going to come out on top. But in the end, Edinburgh made their class tell.